in CFO advisory, accounting and tax services, and financial transformation. Our team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping businesses achieve their financial goals and optimize their operations. Here are some
I can't need this again. You don't need the spoon.
Okay. Sorry.
so we offer some we have three services that we offer. We have CFO advisory, accounting and tax services, and then financial transformation. If if you're a business or as an individual, you're looking for someone for a firm to help you with strategic guidance and support in your business, then you can always come to Iwelabi Consulting. Before I go on, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mariam Yusuf, and I'm a social media intern working with Iwelabi Consulting. And I want to welcome you all once again to the Time Out with Industry Thought Leaders Series 2.0. Already we have our speaker on the call, and I think it's better to get the session started so that we don't waste much time. But before I would invite our speaker, I think it would be nice for us to meet him and understand who our guest speaker for today is. Our guest speaker for today is a thought leader and an expert in financial reporting, accounting standards, and regulatory compliance. Dr. Iheanyi Anyahara is a renowned expert in financial reporting, Dr. Iheanyi is our guest speaker is a renowned expert in financial reporting, accounting standards, and regulatory practices. With over 30 years of experience in the field, his remarkable career is marked by significant contributions to Nigeria's financial landscape, particularly in the adoption of international financial reporting standards and international public sector accounting standards. He also chaired the Adoption Readiness Working Group for Sustainability Reporting, aligning Nigeria's corporate and public sector reporting with global best practices. As a leading authority, Dr. Anyahara served as the acting executive secretary and CEO of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria from March 2020 to May 2021. His influence extends beyond Nigeria's borders, serving as technical advisor to Yakuba Traore at the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board and contributing to the International Assurance and Auditing Standards Board and International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, Stakeholders Advisory Council. Dr. Anyahara is a highly accomplished academic, holding a PhD in accounting from Babcock University, an MBA from the University of Port Harcourt, and a first-class honors degree, and a master's in accounting from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He has also pursued executive education at prestigious institutions like Harvard Business School and the London School of Economics. As a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Association of Forensic Accounting Researchers, Dr. Anyahara continues to shape the future of financial reporting and sustainability in Nigeria and globally. Ladies and gentlemen, accounting professionals, let's all welcome Dr. Iheanyi using the reactions as he begins his presentations. Thank you. Dr. Iheanyi, you have the floor, please. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much and welcome all the distinguished participants. Please, for stability of internet, permit me to go offline so that the internet can be okay. Thank you. Today, we'll be talking about sustainability report and standardization, trying to build on the updates and what currently going on globally. This is an area that has attracted global focus, and in my widest assumption, it will remain global focus for the next decade. And therefore, I want to thank the organizers for deeming it necessary to bring this area to the knowledge of our distinguished participants. And for those who are already aware, to make it more abreast so that they will be able to follow the developments. With that, I appreciate the opportunity and believe that we will do a very participatory discussion. Next slide, please. I'll try to approach this discussion from the outline or agenda you see. Here, introduction, evolution, the trends, frameworks, internationalization. We'll look at Nigerian experience. We'll also discuss how do we, I use the word package, because I know most of participants on call have something to do with financial reporting, supply chain, and therefore they should be able to know how to prepare or package sustainability reports. I will also try to bring to your knowledge what is currently going on and how the reports look like. Then we will be looking at conclusion. Next slide, please. The person controlling my slides, you have to be very, very attentive. Otherwise, we will exceed our time. Next slide, please. Okay. How do we look at sustainability reporting? You can see pictorials. On the left side, looks like garbage area with vehicle parked. For those of you who are in Lagos, this is typical example of an area in Lagos State. And what we are looking at that is environmental side. On the right side, there is a pictorial also. Dilapidated building, people are unable to live here, even with all the warnings that the building is going to collapse in a moment. But because of economic hardship, you see people still habiting in this area. And therefore, you are talking about environment, you are talking about social, you are talking about governance or economic, or depending on what you like. So any report from an entity that encompasses the economic, environmental, and social impacts caused by an organization through its everyday activities could be said to be sustainability report. We criticize financial reports, especially somebody like me in my dissertation that financial report is very narrow in focus. It doesn't talk about the impact an organization is having on the environment. Some of the organizational activities impact negatively on the environment. And because the organizers are based in Port Harcourt, permit me to use the shell. Their activities, their negative impact, making degradation very evident on the environment. But in their reports, prior to this movement, they rarely talk about how they have negatively impacted on the environment. Instead, they talk about how much profit they have made. So there began a move requesting what I call comprehensive, credible, and robust corporate reporting, which will include both reports on profits, report on planet, and report on people. And recently in Mauritius, the Pan African Federation of Accountants added the fourth P, and that's prosperity. So we are looking at an organization giving us a robust corporate report that will talk about how trying to make profit has affected the planet we are living, has affected the people, and have affected the prosperity of the people and the nation. So that is pictorial, that's in a nutshell. And let me tell you the very practical and moving definition of sustainability. It is living your life today without jeopardizing the future. A lot of people, and let us not look at it from entity perspective. Let us look at it holistically, from even you as an individual, even the entity you work, and the nation as a country. Most of the policies we take as individuals affect our future. And the next thing, we start looking for somebody to blame. You have to be very, very conscious in the decisions you take. Let me give you one I usually tell people. You have the liberty to drink as much as you can. But because you want to live long life, your decision, your action today may enhance your policy to live long, or may impede your policy to live long. You are drinking, you don't know that there is some sickness that could be caused by. That is an individual, an entity. You are so concerned about making profit. You don't bother about the people working for you. You don't bother about the consumers or the stakeholders. You don't. I mean, this is short-termism. You may make it today, and tomorrow you are no longer in business. And that is why sustainability goes with resilience. As nation, of course, we all know the kind of situation we find ourselves in. It is as a result of decisions, policies, actions and inactions of our leaders that have put us in this, as if, of course, they have jeopardized our future and the future of our yet unborn children. So that is how we should be looking at sustainability. And that is why those of us in Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria pushing sustainability will look at it from corporate behavioral positive change, because reporting is at the end of it. What you report is the practice. So if your practice is not good enough, you may end up doing tick boxing or doing greenwashing. That is why we at FRC, we carry the narrative, kindly change your behavioral, your corporate behavioral patterns to a more positive, so that when you are reporting, you will not have much issues. Next slide, please. So the concept I have said, there are, like I told the organizers, there are areas I won't be talking so much. The concept I have explained, the humanity is at the center of it, and we talk about sustainable activities. But my worry, especially in our climate, Nigeria, is that when people get to hear a word or a term or a terminology, it becomes a bandwagon. Everybody now is talking about sustainability, sustainable. When you ask them what it means, permit me in my joking form, about a hook. So these are the concepts which I think you need to look at. Let's go to the next one. Sustainability hinges on what I call tripod, 3 pillars. As we have been talking, the 3 pillars are the ESG. You must have heard severally people talk about ESG. That is the tripod on which sustainability is built on. And one is environmental. Because currently, the focus and emphasis is on climate, people tend to erroneously see sustainability as only environmental issues. No. That's why I like ISSB. They said they are starting with environmental or climate, they will not end with climate. So environmental issue, like I said, social, that talks about inclusivity, diversity, gender issue. So these are the issues on the pillar of social. And of course, governance. This, of course, we have a lot of things here on corporate governance, of which Nigeria, through the Financial Reporting Council, had earlier released Nigeria Code of Corporate Governance. So when you look at these 3 pillars, if you consciously, religiously abide by these 3 pillars, what you'll be looking at is sustainability and resilience in your activities. So let's look at more items that relate to each of these 3 pillars. Next slide, please. So you will see here sustainability referring to environmental. You see activities under environmental pillar. You also see activities under social pillar, and of course under governance pillars. So these are a lot of them. When we are talking about them, we are looking at them to effectively talk issues on environmental. And I took this from PwC publication. So you see climate change, carbon emission, you see flooding, all of them. You know, when we talk about it, people think it is an Oyibo issue. Is flooding not here in Nigeria? Recently, there was a very bad one in Maiduguri, where people, but when you talk about it, they don't want to listen to you. Anyway, let's look at the drivers. Next slide. The question is, what is now driving this sustainability thing? There is this commission, Brunt Commission. I think it was set up in 1987, but they submitted their report about 1992 or so. Brunt, the former Prime Minister of Netherlands, chaired the commission. It was on environmental issue, and there became agitations from consumers, from activists, the global and all issues, technology, then will come to investors. Investors came grouping, and we now had a group called ethical investors. Those who believe that they should not be using their money to cause more harm on the environment. And until the activities are well analyzed, and they are sure that the activities that are funding or that financing will not cause harm on the environment, that's only when they will release or invest in such activities. Of course, technology and all of them. Then I have already talked about what sustainability report is: simply communicating, telling the stakeholders issues relating to social, economic, and environmental activities of an entity. It affords a robust corporate reporting framework that enhances accountability, transparency of the company on its impacts, and therefore brings about trust, then facilitates sharing of values for building a more cohesive society. If I understand, for instance, that the activities of these organizers align with me, I can then align my own activities with them, and it becomes a very cohesive. So if you don't report, if you don't, like the saying in our parlance, if you don't say here I am, they won't say there you are. So this evolution, about 20 years past, nobody bothered about what we're talking as sustainability. Investors never gave a hoot. It wasn't essential. Nobody was listening to. The investors were more focused on making money, making profit. So telling them to consider the activities, nobody listened to them. But a decade passed, it became a passive investment. It became, people started listening. I think this is good to have. I mean, let's think twice about it. Yeah, I'm earning more money, but the environmental issue is there. But today is becoming a responsible business practice. People are listening to have board diversity. People are listening to have more females taking up positions, gender sensitivity. People are looking at, hey, we can really make 1 naira and not 10 naira and kill people. So it is now responsible business practice. It becomes necessity. But I assure you, in the next couple of years, in Nigeria, we'll get to that, about 4 or 5 years next, it will become mandatory. It will become compulsory. So why would you wait to learn it from the hard way? Why not start now that it is still voluntary and learn and practice and perfect when it becomes compulsory? Next slide, please. So because people started talking about it, we started having so many sustainability reporting framework and regulations. I call it plethora. a lot. We have the likes of the IPCC, we have the likes of TCFD, we have, I have slides explaining them, so let your heart not be troubled. Of course, this came, people started, this is the way to do it, this is the way, and in trying to solve the problem, they created confusion. They created more problems. In accounts and in finance, we talk about comparability of reports. When you are using two different frameworks, there's no way the outcome will be the same, and that will bring comparability issue. So let's look at some of the frameworks that came into being before we talk about Nigerian and globalization. Next slide here. So we have the IPCC I mentioned, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. When I look at this aspect, I feel so bad because United Nations alone have about 6 or thereabout reporting frameworks, different reporting activities on sustainability. My question is, if one arm have 4, 6 different reporting frameworks, then what will we do? You have the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. They provide policymakers with regular scientific assessments on climate change, its implications, and potential future risks. So they even request them. We have the United Global Compact. This asks business to align, blah, blah, blah. We have the science-based targets, initiatives. All of them, plus the United Nations Conference on Trade Development, all of them talk about sustainability. Yes, granted the fact that they're looking at it from different perspectives. But for me, my challenge is each of them has a reporting framework. And if you adopt any of the reporting framework, and I adopt any of the reporting framework, we're adopting different frameworks. And that creates the confusion I'm talking about. Next slide to see more reporting frameworks. Of course, the International Public Sector Accounting Standard Board, they are also developing a framework for sustainability reporting in public sector. They just released, I think September 20th, they released the exposure draft for climate-related financial disclosures. Yes, so that's another one. How many now? So when you look at it, you have the task force on climate-related financial disclosure. You have the partnership for carbon accounting financials, PCAF. You have the principles for responsible investment. This is a United Nations owned too. You have the carbon disclosure project. Let's go to, I have about 4 or 5 more. Yes. So you have the Climate Disclosure Standard Board. You have the Climate Action. You have the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. You have the Global Reporting Initiative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 plus the ones, about 4 or 6. So more than a dozen.
Um, Dr. Iheanyi, um, okay.
I think Dr. Yang is at a glitch. So we'll just give him some moments to probably rejoin the call. Thank you very much.
And while we are waiting for Dr. Iheanyi to join the call back, I think so far we've all learned about, the meaning of what sustainability reporting is all about, because prior to this session, I think I did not really understand what it was about really. But hearing from Dr. Iheanyi, it has actually given me some insight as to what sustainability reporting means and how it is being um evolved. So let's kindly wait for Doctor to join back. I'm hoping in the next few seconds or so. And also, while I was still waiting, I want to remind us that this is a session that we need to, have a jotter somewhere so that if we have any questions, we can always jot them and then ask after the session, or, because this is something that you would want to really understand. You would want to really get everything so that at least going forward you have this knowledge and then you can easily speak on sustainability in accounting wherever they're talking about it. Thank you. While I was still waiting for Dr. Hein to join back, I think I would like to share some of the things I have in my notes based on what he has shared with us so far. So for me, like I said earlier, one of the questions I had, or should I say what sparked my curiosity as I heard the topic, accounting for sustainability. I'm like, how is sustainability related to accounting? Because I've always heard of the word in, maintaining natural resources and all of that. But now I think I have a better grasp as to what sustainability reporting means. It's saying it's a report about the economic, the environmental, and then the social impacts that are caused by organizations through its everyday activities. Sometimes we may actually think that, okay, because we are accountants, we may not really have the need to understand this particular topic. But it now all boils down to, you being a professional in what you're doing. You're not only thinking about trying to balance the accounts. Now you're thinking to a large extent, how is this company I'm doing this for or I'm working with impacting the environment, consumers, and then we talk about the stakeholders as well. Um, and then Dr. Hianyi advised us to change our corporate behavior, to a more sustainable one so you don't have problems while you're reporting. He also mentioned that sustainability is a tripod, you know, ESG, like the economic, the societal, and then the government aspect is the tripod upon which sustainability is built upon. And then abiding by um, these three essential, what should I call it? Let me just say tripod.
Yes.
They lead to sustainability. Yeah, and then now we have ethical investors. Who are these people? They actually believe that they should not spend their money to harm the environment.
Right.
Mm, and then we must have thought that sustainability is something that has been in the in our workspace since the 90s, but now we've been told that 20 years ago it was considered a non-business, like a business non-essential, like it's not even needed in our business. But now, 10 years ago, people have started to see that okay, it is actually good to have. It's a passive investment. And today, responsible business, they practice it. They see it as a necessity. And in the future, would have this as something that is mandatory, that is compulsory to have in our businesses. And
Thank
he
you very
also
much.
took us through, okay,
Yes, let me also come in. Let me just chime in a little bit. So, while Dr. Iheanyi was presenting as well, it took us through the frameworks from the UN group, the different frameworks that are currently coming up to support the sustainability movement, which include the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, that basically provides policymakers with regular scientific assessments on climate change, its implication, and potential future risk. He also mentioned about, okay, doctor is back. Welcome back, Dr. Iheanyi. Thank you very much for joining us back. Hello, doctor, can you
My,
hear me?
my sincere apologies. I was explaining to Victory, because of this program, I have
Yes,
4 internet service providers.
so sorry.
Unfortunately, um, I don't know. It's what? So let's try
yeah,
to
it's understandable, sir. It's fine, sir.
let's try to Okay, I was saying numerous reporting frameworks, and the trends is in order to shape corporate sustainability report, there became moved to consolidate and merge with others. And of course, some are regulation focus on ESG, while some are discussing maturation of ESG data. I will show you in a nutshell the consolidation effort. We talked about climate disclosure standards board. We talked about GRI. We talked about sustainability accounting standards board and climate disclosure projects. So in this, we have some that have come to merge. The integrated reporting have merged with sustainability accounting standards board of years, and they form what we call value reporting foundation. This value reporting foundation has been subsumed by the International Sustainability Standards Board. So we believe for us to have a global baseline that all the entities are supposed to use the same reporting framework as being done in accounting standards. And that was why the Globe pushed the International Financial Reporting Standard Foundation to embark on the development of sustainability standards. And now there is growing ESG regulations, especially from what I call the global north. The Euro, next please, the Euro, that is European Union, have what they call sustainable finance disclosure regulation, and they moved from there to corporate sustainability reporting directives. This, of course, became effective January 2023. And this is where we have critical issues in Nigeria and probably some other emerging markets. The European Unions are driving this. And what they're saying is that if you are in the value chain, that anything you are sending in to Europe must comply with the corporate sustainability reporting disclosure directives. So that's why, because we play in a global market, we need to do what the globe is looking for. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. And in order to do it, there is a need to have data. You need to have what people are doing. How do you generate? How do you collate the data for the reporting aspect? I think we'll be discussing this a little bit much later in this presentation. Next slide, please. So what have we been doing in the standardization globally? Of course, on September 30th, the trustees of the IFRS Foundation, that is International Financial Reporting Standard Foundation, published a consultation paper to assess demand for global sustainability standards. Of course, they asked the globe, the stakeholders, to talk about whether they are fit and proper organization to create sustainability standards board. And of course, the consultation showed overwhelmingly that they are the most preferred organization to establish the Sustainability Standard Board, relying on the existing frameworks of IFRS. And that is where the IFRS Foundation now proposed to amend the IFRS Foundation Constitution, because what was there was only one standard setting board, and that is the International Accounting Standards Board. So they proposed the amendment and eventually created another standard setting board called the International Sustainability Standards Board, that is charged, yes, next slide, with the responsibility of developing a global baseline. And this came into reality during the COP26 in Glasgow in 2021. And that was where I called the birth of the ISSB. And they are charged to deliver a comprehensive global baseline of sustainability. No, go back. So yeah, that is here, to deliver a comprehensive global baseline of sustainability related disclosure. So with this, all of us are now gearing towards ISSB. Next slide, thanks. I like how you are now moving, that will be very fast. So of course, having done that in 2021, they moved from 26 to COP27. And why this is important, it is that at COP27 in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, Nigeria raised her hand to be an early adopter. And since then, next slide, we've been doing walk the talk. And they released the IFRS S1, S2 the following year, 2023. And the other ones are what they have been doing, issuance of ISSB standards, IFRS S1, S2, that happened on June 26, 2023. And following, they now said, while implementing the IFRS S1, S2, rely on Sustainability Accounting Standards Board and take their pronouncements. And of course, they have released a lot of materials, including working to integrate reporting and develop capacity. Next slide, please. So IFRS S1, what is it talking about? It's just giving the baseline for sustainability related risks and opportunities. What and what we expected. This IFRS S1 is akin to IAS 1 and IAS 8. For those of you in accounts, of course, IAS 8 talks about policy, change in accounting and estimates and the error. So this does give what I call the basis for implementing and talks about consistency, talks about how you connect the sustainability report with the financial statements. So it does not specify where the sustainability report will be. It was left for jurisdictions, and we'll talk about that. The next one is IFRS S2. This is called climate-related disclosure. And I want to say something very, very significant. If you see the IHSB standards, they are talking about financial related, whether social, climate, or governance, their emphasis is on financial related. And the IFRS 2 build on the 4 pillars of the TCFD, the Task Force on Climate Financial Related Disclosure. And here, the 4 pillars are the governance, the strategy, the risks and opportunities, and targets and metrics. We'll talk about that. Requires the disclosure of physical risks, discusses the assessment of how resilient a business is. Next slide, please. And in all, talks about the greenhouse gas emission, which will look at scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. And of course, having released the first 2 standards, ISSB came back to stakeholders and asked them, what do we want to do? So the stakeholders say, go ahead with biodiversity, get us a standard on ecosystem, and the next stage of what they will be releasing is human capital and all the rest. So they are collaborating with IASB, the International Accounting Standards Board, for connectivity. How do we connect the sustainability report to the financial statement? And the beauty is what you are seeing on the screen. You have the International Accounting Standard Board developing IFRS accounting standards. You have the International Sustainability Standard Board developing IFRS sustainability disclosure. While the financial statement depends on the accounting standards, the sustainability disclosures depend on the sustainability standards. And in all, you have a corporate, comprehensive, credible report that investors and other capital market participants will rely on. Next slide, thanks, we are moving. In all this Nigeria experience, we are singing this song as if we have not been doing anything, as if Nigeria got involved, only this establishment. No, in 2012, the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles were issued by the central bank. So about 12 years far back, we've been in this journey. And of course, in 2016, the Nigerian Stock Exchange issued sustainability reporting principles. 2018, the Securities and Exchange Commission launched green bond rules. 2019, Nigerian Corporate Code of Corporate Governance had principle number 26, talking about sustainability. In 2020, of course, we aligned, and now we are looking towards real driving the corporate report. And still on what has so far been done, of course, Access Bank, IHS, all of them have been reporting sustainability, about 25 of them as at 2022 when we did the assessment. So it's not like it's a very brand new reporting issue in Nigeria. Next slide. We're still fast, 70-something or 80-something slides. We're on 33. Anyway, what is the role of FRC? Of course, we are the umbrella regulator for corporate reports. And so we have adopted this. We participate in IPSAS-B. Of course, we got the nod of advisory ministry in COP27. We made the announcement. Next slide, please. So how do we adopt? These are some of the critical statements we had when FRC raised up their hand. When you get the slides, you can look at some of this. The next slide talks about the then Minister of Finance trying to buttress and say that they will work with ISSB to partner to deliver strong advisory and capacity building. Of course, that was a policy statement by the then minister, And we're working with the new minister in this directive. Slides. So adoption, yes, click again, you will see something that will come up. Yeah, no? Go back one more. Yeah, adoption. The efforts and the results. Of course, we developed a strategy to raise awareness. We're engaging stakeholders. We have developed a roadmap for timely implementation. I'll spend some time on these results. Next slide. The benefits. Of course, we have up to 5 benefits. One is outline climate strategy for stakeholders. Everybody has to get involved, and you have to stay ahead of any future mandatory regulations. So Zebediah said to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So once you are aware, you start making all necessary provisions to be ready to implement. Yes, Auntie. So there are 3 basic stakeholder relationships here. We have the management, we have the users, and we have the professional accountants. They are key stakeholders. Management prepares the sustainability information. Professional accountants independently evaluates. And of course, you and I, users, will know and evaluate whether what they have done is correct or not. Next slide. The role of management, I've explained it. Let me not go. Management, auditors, and stakeholders. So I elaborated them further, which you will. So again, in my discourse, and when we are taught elementary accounting in 1921, we were told the users of financial statements. They talked about government, tax, community, blah, blah, blah. But the focus of that financial statement is usually investors and stakeholders. Now, the corporate reporting is all gearing towards all stakeholders. The local communities, the vendors, the employees, the regulators, all of them are interested in the report. Yes, next slide, please. Don't worry, we'll reach there. I think you jumped something, did you? This assurance, that's auditors. We'll go to that next slides. Assurance, okay, see how I talk about assurance because we have a lot to say on it. If you are asked to mark yourself in an examination, I don't see anybody on this platform that will mark himself or herself low. The presumption is that all of us will mark ourselves, which I know you won't mark yourself low. All of us will mark ourselves very high. And until we have an independent third-party expert that will review that you're marking, the independent third-party expert says you got the A, you marked yourself. Nobody will query that. That is the relevance of independent assurance report. Because sustainability data is very, very granular and requires somebody who will say, yes, you did all expected of you, and therefore what you are stating is as it should be. And they are guided by standards. Recently, the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board released ISA 5000 for sustainability reporting. And that is what will be used in analyzing whether you did it right or not. So the report, the conclusion, the assurance provider will be making will be something like, in our opinion, Anyahara Billionaire Limited report on its greenhouse gas emission is fairly stated. And here we have what we call limited and reasonable assurance. I would like to take it later in other slides. Yes. There is a survey, of course, that shows about 1,400 global companies from the G20 nations, Hong Kong, China, Singapore, that states that 92% of the global companies provided some ESG data to investors through integrated, annual, or standalone. So this is just showing the movement, and this was as far back as 2022 July. Yes, please. Imagine best practice. So it's still an assurance. You can't, let me tell you why this is important. You know, in Nigeria, for instance, we have what they call corporate social responsibility report. And that thing is it's a very funny report as far as I'm concerned. The corporate social responsibility, they will go and degrade a community, for instance. They will go and sink a borehole. And the next thing you will see, all manner of newspaper adverts, television, that they're doing this for this community. They will not tell you how much damage they have made to that community. And they won't show you any report of an independent third-party expert that says what they stated is correct. That is why the best practices emerging is having sustainability assurance. We'll go ahead. Next slide, please. In this journey, we have the Nigerian Climate Change Act. It all geared towards Nigeria achieving net zero emissions in 2050. Or when we look at the roadmap, we'll talk about this. But this, when you are talking about sustainability, this is a very important law to be considered, especially auditors. You will be looking at the compliance. You know, that's what we call NOCLA, non-compliance with law and regulations. So you check whether they complied with this as it relates to climate change. They have a commission they call National Council on Climate Change. Why early adoption? The early adoption is necessarily to unlock capital. My joking format on explaining this is, I don't know how many of you were born when Buhari was military head of state in 1993, 94, am I right? Or earlier than then. I mean, in 1983, yeah, not 83, yeah. So there were scarcities of essential commodities, and we are queuing up to collect milk and the rest. So my analogy is, since capital is very scarce, it goes only to those who queue up and meet all the requirements. So if Nigeria hadn't queued up early and tried to dot the I's and cross the T's, the capital will elude us. Will not be able to unlock the capital. And of course, we are aligning with global baseline in order to attract foreign direct investment and invariably implement the Federal Executive Council's 2010 directives that mandated the then Nigerian Accounting Standard Board to adopt global standards. In order to achieve the early adoption, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria created what they call Adoption Readiness Working Group, a critical stakeholder to develop the adoption, sustainability adoption roadmap. And that is the road you are seeing. They created the junctions and this. Next slide, please. The Adoption Readiness Working Group has the structure. They have Adoption Readiness Working Group chair, which eventually my humble self chairs the stakeholders. We have Adoption Readiness Working Group advisors. and that is the International Sustainability Standard Board. We have the work streams headed by the Deloitte for one, the EY for another, KPMG for, we have about 4 work streams, each headed by the Big Four. And of course, we have others, industry regulators, private organizations, donor agencies, prime entities, all of them. The next slide will show you what the make. We have the likes of the Deloitte, like I said, CBN, PwC, NDIC, Dangote, ICANN, and Securities and Exchange, all of us came together and worked for 8 months plus, next slide, to create adoption roadmap, And what we're going to see subsequently are the components in the adoption roadmap. There are major components. One, next slide, is the sustainability reporting timeline. Here, the roadmap, the adoption readiness group, for 2 approaches. One is the Big Bang, the other one is phase by phase. And they, in their own opinion, felt that if we take the Big Bang, there will be confusion, there will be rush, there will be commotion. It's like when everybody wants to join the train. At the same time, nobody's queuing up. So we decided to create 4 phases. One is what we call early adopters. As accountants, I don't know whether you have taken time to look at standards. When standards are issued, they have the effective date. And they have a paragraph that used to say early implementation is encouraged. Early implementation is before the effective date. So that's why we created early adopters, those that adopted or implemented earlier than the effective date. We'll talk about them. We have 4 of them. We have the likes, the two from financial institutions, 1 from telecommunication, and 1 from oil and gas. So they have published their first sustainability reports. And the next group is the voluntary adopters phase. This phase, 2024-2027, you are free to join at any point and learn the ropes. The 3rd phase is the mandatory adopters. And we say all public interest entities must do this in 2028. Then the small and medium enterprises in 2030. The last phase is phase 4, government and government establishments. Here we have not determined the year, simply because we are waiting for the conclusion of the standards to be issued by the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Here, like I've explained, are the early adopters, and as we talk for did, we have the MTN, we have the Seplat, we have the Access Bank, and we have the Fidelity. 2 from financial institutions, 1 from energy, oil and gas, and 1 from telecommunication. The next stage, the voluntary, we have received about 6 that have signified their interest. Of course, these are one of the publications we made in this regard. So let's go to the next slide, please. I would want you to consider there is something significant, the readiness test. The readiness test as contained in paragraph 5.10 of the roadmap listed 17 documents that must be submitted. And you have to get clearance or feedback after review from the Financial Reporting Council before you start. The readiness test assessment is compulsory for all entities, irrespective of the phase. Let's look at what the readiness test look like. Number one, there must be a board resolution approving the adoption of IFRS sustainability disclosure. This resolution and gap analysis, as well as the implementation plan, must be submitted to the Financial Reporting Council 3 months before the reporting period. We have these other ones, and we have the list of the 17. Let's go. Here, the items number 1 to 3, like I mentioned, the gap analysis, the board resolution, and the implementation plan must be submitted at least 3 months. The 4th to 9th item must be submitted 3 months after, and the last items must be submitted 6 months after the beginning. So these are the sequencing of the readiness tests required to be submitted by this. Then in the standards, we have reliefs, 6 of them. And during our report, our work, we ask stakeholders to talk about this. And the stakeholders all accepted that we accept the reliefs. One is that we start the sustainability reporting by climate first. The second one is that scope 3 greenhouse gas emission will not be part of the report on the first year. The second one is the third one is the timing of the report, which says it has to come along with financial statements, except for the first year of reporting, which has to be 6 months after. The third thing is comparative reporting. At the very first year of report, you don't require comparative reporting. The next one is greenhouse gas, that you must follow the protocol and in line with the relief, your first year you do not have. The last one is location of the sustainability report. Here, the standard allowed jurisdictions to decide, and Nigeria through FRC decided that it must come immediately after management discussions and analysis. So entities are expected to reference all this and ensure that you comply. Next slide. I think we are making progress. So disclosing, we have talked about the timing, we have talked about where, and we're also saying all applicable entities would be subject to the requirement of making their sustainability related financial disclosures public. So you must publish it along with your general purpose financial statement, except the very first year of reporting. Another critical area is the assurance. That's the assurance we'll be talking in earlier slides. Here, the roadmap demands that you have to report limited assurance on the 3rd and 4th year, excluding scope 3. Then 5th year, you have to do reasonable assurance, and the same 6th year, you have to do both full quantitative scenario, because we have scenario analysis that can be qualitative and quantitative. In this space, we want you to do both qualitative and quantitative analysis. So the roadmap is there, shows the progressive nature from limited to reasonable assurance and requiring verifications of all the value chain in order to be sure that we have higher level of assurance than those required in the previous phases of the roadmap. Next slide, please. I've talked about ISA 5000 that was just approved. The processes are there. I think by January, they will finalize it, and assurance will be based on ISA 5000, and the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants are also developing code for professionals to be able to use in sustainability assurance. That shows you how important globally the sustainability and assurance issues are. Yes, please. Monitoring, simply, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria is charged with the responsibility of monitoring the sustainability disclosures. Next slide. What are we doing? So we are getting close. Advocacy. Of course, this is the launch of the roadmap that happened on 23rd March. You will see the federal man, that's the chairman of the International Sustainability Standard Board, Mr. Emmanuel Faber. The woman on his left is the only African on the board of International Sustainability Standard Board, and she is our own, a Nigerian, Dr. Ndidinoli Edozie, representing Africa. So, and of course, we became the first country to launch sustainability standard disclosure. So, I mean, we have done a lot in this, and Nigeria has asserted leadership in the adoption of ISSB sustainability. Other slides are showing the level we went on the advocacy. We went to the highest level. That's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who affirmed Nigeria's commitment to diligently implement the world-leading sustainability reporting standards. This happened on March 22nd during the visit of Faber. Next one is consultation with the Vice President and the Minister of Agriculture by my lower left, the then Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment by my lower right, and upper right is consultation with Lagos State Governor. So to tell you that sustainability is really a stakeholders movement. And if you don't consult widely, you are likely not going to get it done well. Next slide, please. I think, yeah, the work groups, we created work groups that are working in order to have seamless and effective implementation. We have capacity building and curriculum. We have adoption and implementation. We have awareness and advocacy. We have digital taxonomy. All these are created and are working assiduously to ensure that we get the best we can. On advocacy and capacity building, we started training free. We had for financial institutions, July 10 and 11. We have for oil and gas, telecommunications, September 3rd and 4th. We planned holding for fast consumer moving goods. We have not talked about that, and the manufacturing sector. So we intend really building massive capacity to ensure implementation. You will see the next steps we have on the next slide. We are engaging the regulators, we're engaging professional bodies, not only accounting, and we're engaging government agencies to ensure that all of us align together to ensure that we effectively implement. Next slide. I think I have about 5 more slides. So compliance. Really? Yeah. So compliance, we really have to ensure that we do the best we can to comply with corporate governance and sustainability reports. I said this for now. Financial Reporting Council is not sanctioning. And the idea is from phase 1 and phase 2, which is expected to end in 2027, that people could have mastered and learned the skills and upskilled. And from 2028, when it will be mandatory, that's when sanctions could come into being. And I encourage people to take advantage of this period to build the skills, to do the needful, and not wait for the Nigerian syndrome, lastminute.com. And the last slide, that is my conclusion. Discussing IFRS S1, S2, whether overview or in details, entails considerable time and effort. What I have done so far, to my understanding, is just scratching. It is an exercise that is continuous and demanding. We really have to fasten our seatbelts, as transition is like the taking off of an aircraft. It requires all the attention, energy, concentration, and force needed for a smooth takeoff. Also, we are likely going to leave the seatbelt signs for some time, as we are likely going to experience some turbulence while on the journey. One thing sure is that we will arrive at our destination safely, but I am not certain whether it will be smooth. Thank you so much for this great opportunity, and I conclude that sustainability reporting is still at infancy and fledgling stage in Nigeria and in the developing countries, and such reporting is very important for ensuring sustainable operations for public interest entities. The journey actually has effectively begun. God bless.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, sir. Just to be sure that I'm not the only one that smiled when you were telling us about the conclusion. It was a funny one for me. At the same time, it was an honest one. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I have learned a lot, and I would like to just go over some few things before we take questions. Please, attendees, if you have questions, you can raise your hand or you can drop it in the chat box. But let me quickly go over what I have. So Dr. Iheanyi mentioned that ESG regulations is progressing, which I'm glad to hear, and that the European Union is actually leading in this field by saying that whatever you're bringing into their country, it has to comply with the standard sustainability practices. And then he mentioned the fact that we have to play on a global level. We should not just be on this, okay, we are in this Africa, we are in this Nigeria. No, play on the global level, because whatever you're doing, I'm sure you want to be a big person, you want to become bigger. That means you have to now look at what you have in the global global standard, and then play by it. And he also said that, of course, then we connect sustainability reports to financial statements. He mentioned some laws that are in line to help ensure that entities, they abide by the rules and regulations of sustainability reporting. And okay, so now that we have that, I think it's better we now take questions. I saw Oge. Okay, I saw Kingsley and up. You can go ahead, Kingsley, please. Let's have you. Thank you. Kingsley, you can go ahead and unmute.
All right. Good morning and happy weekend, the host. Can I be heard?
Good morning, Kingsley. We can hear you clearly.
I want to appreciate our doc. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. It was mind-blowing. I know it was not easy, but I did not take it for granted. I really appreciate this section. Just quick one. Our eyes have been opened on sustainability reports by firms that are into operation on the other, how the activities affect the environment they operate. I just want to answer this so that I could be well harmed. I'm speaking from Edo State, Benin City, precisely. I'm from South. I know South, they are more or less oil producing states. And about 2-3 years ago, I think 2021 precisely, there is this PIA that came up that host community companies should another 33%. So now, my question is this: when companies are reporting, where they are reporting their sustainability, we as a community where they are operating, because the activity actually impacts the community either negatively or positively, but in one way or the other. But how do we see? Because at times it's like they window dress the reports, because in many cases the impact on the communities on the negative aspects, but you begin to see report that this and this and this, but by the time you come into practice, by the time you are a little bit pragmatic, those things they reported, actually they didn't do up to that. Maybe they just a kind of window dress it and say they do this. So we as a community, how do we come in, especially we that have some element of accounting background, to know then that this your report, can we, I don't know how we put it, but can we say this your report is actually commensurate with what you did to what you are reporting? So how do we come in as a stakeholder in this community that they are reporting that this is what they have done, this is their effort, and all that and all that? So that's just my question. I don't know if I'm well understood.
Can we take more questions? Kingsley, I heard you very well. I'll summarize. You say, how can host communities come in this sustainability report, either to query or to accept the report? That's my summary. So I'll respond. I'm thinking I get more questions so I can. Or do you want me to take it one after the other? I don't know.
We have some questions in the chat box. So let me just take those. So we have some questions in the chat box. We have Olatunji Lukman asking that, what are the provisions in place to ensure SMEs comply with some of these frameworks, as one of the arguments against sustainability reporting for them is relatively high costs? So SMEs are complaining, or the argument against being able to comply with sustainability reporting is high cost of adoption. How can we, what are the provisions in place to ensure that SMEs are able to comply? And I mean, this Abiodun asks quite a personal question about, is there anything FRC is currently doing with accounting firms or in conjunction with accounting firms or institutions to organize hands-on workshop on sustainability reporting? So yes, I think those are the questions we have for now. Do we have any more questions before we move on?
Thank you so much. Can I start from the bottom and get back to briefly?
Yes.
Abiodun, the organizer said it's a personal one, but I know you are speaking on behalf of people like us who are SMPs, small and medium practices. Yes, if you are listening to my presentation, I did mention that Financial Reporting Council is building massive capacity. The massive capacity is not restricted to preparers. If I think I rushed that slide where we stated next action, and I stated professional accounting organization, professional firms, and all the rest. So we are trying to reach out to ensure that all the stakeholders are carried. On hands-on, yes, of course, our deliverables, we are working with Pan-African Federation of Accountants to see how much they can support in this directive, so that we can have models specifically prepared for small and medium practices in this space. So I share with your concern, and I assure you that the council is not folding her arms. We are doing all we can to the extent our resources can carry. That is, as we speak, I could not go back to Lagos yesterday because we are interfacing with academia. We are holding engagements and capacity building for tertiary institution lecturers in Nigeria because they are very critical. They lay the foundation. The people that are teaching are the people who come out to go into industry. So we are having these things in stages. And I trust God in a no distant future, we'll be able to come to accounting firms. And another way we are looking at is we are also approaching the big four that leverage on resources they have globally. We are also asking them to handhold the small, medium practices. But it's a very critical thing, which we have not been able to persuade them because of the cost implication. Number two, I didn't get the name, but the question is very, very good. Each time we talk about SME, small and medium enterprises, what goes into compliance is cost element. But I tell you that it goes beyond cost. I will come to what we are doing. I want to give you one critical position. When we are doing the stakeholders engagement, I showed you the picture where we were with the vice president. We were told at that engagement that Nigeria is likely going to lose export of over $2 billion in cocoa because of non-compliance with sustainability requirements. And you ask yourself, who are involved in cocoa processes? It is the small and medium enterprises. And that is why it is good for them to be part of this process. The areas we are doing in order to ensure we are talking with global organizations, donor agencies, and development partners to see whether we can create what we call a Pan-African digital hub for sustainability data collection, which will be accessible to all. If we're able to succeed in this, that would be a very, very high cost reduction mechanism. That is one effort. Another effort is that we have approached, is Financial Reporting Council, we have approached the prime entities, the big, the multinationals, and requested them to handhold their supply chain. And their supply chain is small and medium enterprises. So if they can handhold them, that will also reduce the cost implication on the SMEs. These are some of the efforts we are making for now to reduce the burden on the SMEs. And I am trusting that it will generate the required and necessary positive results. We are mindful of that. But again, like the current ICANN president used to joke, he said, when you leave the National League and you want to play in global league, you have to comply with global rules and regulations. So you can't be playing on global league and you want to take Nigeria referee to be there. And the final one, which was the first by my brother Kingsley, the resource agitators, the South-South brother. It's simple. Thank God it is, you are talking from accounting professional perspective. You therefore stand on a veritable solid ground to advise your community that this report, from your knowledge, did not cover this, did not cover that. So it is even the baseline for your agitation. If we are having sustainability or credible corporate report, the likes of the shells would not have done what they were doing before, because they were not reporting the impact of their oil extraction on the community. So if you now get a report that paints positively or rosy report that does not match what it is, I'm not saying you carry arm, you escalate it. The Financial Reporting Council will penalize them. We have a knowledge sharing base with other regulators, and it can also be escalated. For me, I think it is even the best thing that can happen. Again, with the assurance, both the accountants that help them prepare the first report, the assurance that assurance provider that says it is correct, all of them will be punished. We can't do this if we don't have such a framework on the ground. So that is why, to me, we all should put hands on deck to support and ensure that we have credible corporate reports, because anybody that falsifies the corporate report is, of course, inviting a lot of sanctions and penalties. And of course, the host community can then differentiate Paul from Barnabas. I think these are the three. I don't know whether it satisfies their curiosity.
Thank you so much, sir. I believe you've done justice to the questions. We have 3 more questions, sir. Can I go on to call them?
Go ahead.
Okay, sir. So the first one is from Bolanle. He said, are there any particular organizations that are exempted from sustainability reporting? And then someone, Umana, is asking that why exactly do we need to incorporate sustainability reports in financial reporting? Now, what are the benefits to the firm and the society? And then the third question is saying, what are the opportunities available to professionals in keying the sustainability framework at this stage, and how do we position ourselves to provide sustainability assurance and reporting? So these are the 3 questions that we have. I hope you got that, sir.
Yeah, I got it. If I didn't, when I'm answering, you tell me I omitted one. I got the 3 benefits for professionals. Am I right? Then integrating SR with FR and organizations exempted. That's my shorthand for the 3.
Yes, sir, you got it.
Okay, yeah. Are there any organization? Yes, exempted. I would say yes. For us, if you are not PIE, if you are not a public interest entity, we don't bother you on this. However, you have to go to the FRC Act 2011 as amended 2023 and get to know the definition of public interest entities. It's very wide, but if you don't fall into that net, you are not. However, though you are not PIE, your activity is part of the supply chain of an entity that is a PIE that deals with global markets. For your own benefit, you have to do it. Otherwise, the supply chain may likely knock you off because they don't want to run foul of excuse me, the rules binding them globally. So this is one. Integrating sustainability reporting with financial reports. I did mention that during my conclusion that an overview cannot take. We just scratched sustainability. We have not talked about carbon accounting. We have not talked about connectedness. And that is the question you are asking. In my Joker form, every sustainability activity has a financial implication. And the standard is talking about sustainability financial related. For instance, a good example for you to see the interconnectedness. If you are a manufacturing organization and you are to abandon your production process because you want to transit to a cleaner energy process, the abandoned production process does not mean that the useful lifespan has expired. It means that you are impairing that process. Therefore, the sustainability decision has impacted on your statement of financial position. And if you look at the IFRS S1, S2, it talks about the impact of the sustainability decision on your statement of financial position, your statement of comprehensive income, your cash flow statement, and other related financial statements. So you should be able to link them up to be meaningful. It's not just telling us stories. And that is why investors did not like the GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative framework, because most of them were storytelling. And accountants are not listening to stories. I used to give a very good analogy. Accountants only listen to how much does it come to, so that they can put it either profit, assets, liabilities, or income. So that is the integration here, man. And if you look at the standards, I used to hammer that they talk about financial related. They're not telling you, they're not looking at your stories. Tell us stories. No. They are looking at what impacts. For instance, the flood in Maiduguri has impacted on income generation of so many corporate entities that depend on food from there as their raw materials. If they did not plan to be resilient and have other sources of raw materials, their income coming will be depleted. Why? Because of climate and climate related. That is that. Benefits, my dear, if you're a professional, you have to contribute money now and pay me for this advice. And I will only take the money if it is in dollars. If you're a professional, don't mind me, I joke a lot. If you're a professional, this is where you ought to look towards now. This is where the juicy area is. It's very vast. We don't have people with appropriate skills. I just want to review this. On Monday, this is just Monday, my team, we had a board training for one bank. After telling them, after building their capacity, the chairman of the bank, of the board of the bank, called me and told his management, the executive director, that they should go to Dr. Anyahara to enable them headhunt a chief sustainability officer. And they should work with Dr. Anyahara to train other management and implement their sustainability. This is what is going on in so many other organizations. I just said this because this is what happened to me this week. So there are a lot of benefits. That's what I'm saying. But that benefits can only come to, remember my analogy of Buhari, those who have prepared themselves, woke up early and queued in the front. In the joke I also used to make, if they ask me to name people, I will name myself first, my wife second. If they want to distribute or share things, they will share with the people on the first list. So if you have not upskilled yourself, be ready and presented yourself, you will miss the benefits. That's my own advice. Thank you. I hope that answered your questions. Are there more, or should I be discharged and acquitted?
Yes, sir. We have two more questions. Please, if you have any questions, I think these are the last questions I will have. Let me
I thought I
quickly
saw
call them
Bolanle
out.
asking. I thought I saw Bolanle asking
Yeah.
again.
Yes, yes, sir.
Omotoyoshi is making hand.
Okay. So there's Olushino asking that what are the opportunities available to professionals to key into sustainability framework at this stage? And how do professionals provide sustainability assurance and reporting? And then Bolale is asking that is there a consideration for benchmarks to measure fairness of the sustainability reporting of an organization? Yeah, and then after this, after you take these questions, we can take the person that is raising his or her hand, and then we can wrap the session up. Thank you, sir.
Do I need to answer me again? I thought I talked about opportunities. There are vacancies they are
Okay.
looking for. They are looking for people who have the skills. The opportunities are there, both in reporting, both in the practices. So for me, but before you can get this, again, that is what we are talking about. In sustainability, we are talking about risks and opportunities. So before you look at the opportunities, the risk is that if you don't upscale, you are likely going to fall out. So the opportunity is you can become an expert in carbon accounting. You can become an expert in sustainability assurance, but you have to develop, you have to study, you have to get certificated, you have to get experience. So that is the opportunity. The benchmark, Bolanle, the benchmark is there. That is the IFRS S1, S2. That's the standard for reporting. The benchmark for assurance is ISA 5000. So these are the benchmarks for you. What the statement in IFRS S1 is, you have to expressly state that you complied with the provisions of this standard. I don't think whether you need any other benchmark. I may be wrong. I don't know whether I understood you very well. But if it is for the benchmark for sustainability reporting for Nigeria, I told you about the adoption roadmap. It is IFRS S1, S2. It is the standard issued by ISSB. And the standard says where there is no ISSB pronouncement, you revert to State and Sustainability Accounting Standards Board pronouncements. So that is that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, yeah. Adigun,
Okay, sir.
you can go on to.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Thank you. I really appreciate it for this training. And my question is, you were talking about the skill, professional preparing ourselves for the juicy opportunity ahead of us. My question is, can you recommend a training, probably a training institution, training people on sustainability reporting to get ourselves prepared? We have to acquire the skills. So that's my question. how can we, the training institution, or if your institution is training, I mean, individually, for me, for example, if I want to get training, can I do your parastatal have a training for individual like you have for institutions? That's just my question, sir.
Thank you very much, Adigun or Motoyosi. I don't know what I called it. There are trainings available and there are quacks masquerading themselves as trainers. I like what you ask. The council is not doing one-on-one training, but you can have reputable institutions doing training. I don't think I will be allowed to mention names. I'm not here to market any training institute. So they are there. But let me give you the open secret. Go to ISSB website, the International Sustainability Standards Board website. They have veritable materials. They have. So this is free. There are people who will get source of information. They hide it. They don't want anybody to be like them. That is not. What of those who put it on the website? Please go to ISSB, check on materials on sustainability. They are there. My number and this is on the screen. You can get in touch with me. We can talk about other trainings privately. That is one. Other, I think we are discussing with ICANN and ANAN to create curriculum for certification. But I think I have to be very honest with you. Please build the skills, upskill before talking about certificates. Because there are trainings that concentrate on certification and they don't upskill you. Again, if we talk, any of you, not Adigun alone, any of you that considers it necessary, if you call me, I'm free, we'll discuss, I can let you know. Otherwise, we have some. The only problem is cost implication. Most of the certifications are done by foreign entities who have passed and have good experience on this. So please, in fact, even the ISSB, they have what they call FSA credentials. But it will cost you some money, especially the exchange rate issues. So I think that's what I have to talk about training. I hope that's a little okay.
Yes, sir. But on the what's it called? The leaflet that I can't see your number there.
I didn't hear you.
I can't find your phone number on the leaflet on that I'm seeing. There's no phone number there.
Get in touch with organizers.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, sir. But please, can we quickly take this last question and then we. So, Fortunate is asking that how do we incorporate sustainability into our strategic decision making?
It's a it's a very good one, but it takes a lot. Fortunate is we say very last one. Ojo is also asking. Ojo, I won't answer your own. No. Don't mind me, I joke a lot. Fortunate, sustainability is embedded, and there are 4 key pillars. The governance says out they must have a committee of governance that oversees sustainability in the organization. that make sure that any investment undergoes proper analysis and scrutiny of the risks and opportunities in that investment relating to climate and relating to resilience. So an organization ought to set up a board sustainability related committee. Then at the management level, they are supposed to be what I personally call sustainability champions. They can create a team. They have to have specific responsible officers. And that's why some organizations now, especially the banks, are creating chief sustainability officers who will be able to create all the scenario analysis, all the nitty-gritty of sustainability, and of course, we'll have the operational levels. That is that, and when you have it, you have to make sure that in all your income projection, in all your expenditure projection, there is what they call scenario analysis. You have to work with data. If we expect to spend 1 billion naira in this asset, what hazard will this 1 billion naira create on the environment? Will it help to have gender exclusion? If yes, no matter how beneficial that is, you are likely going to query it. The board will query it. So, I mean, the embedding sustainability practices in an organization is a very, very serious business. And no matter how I talk it here, we will not be able to, but in a nutshell, that's what it takes to start thinking about that, and you will be able to do that. Who was the last person that I said I wasn't to? He said something about those of them in diaspora.
Yes, sir, that's what you mentioned.
Go ahead, here. No problem.
Okay, he's asking that so for some of them abroad, how can they key into this sustainability and how can they learn?
Depending on where the diaspora is, if you are in the global north, I don't know where the person is. If you are in the global north, you are at a vantage position because a lot of resources are available there. But if you are in diaspora in the global south, you know, let me joke with you, sir. Don't mind me. If you are in Ghana, you say you're overseas. So you're in diaspora. So you will need to also align with us. The first phase is to go to that website, International Sustainability Standard Board. And there are a lot of other websites you can go. Then after acquiring or aligning, you are this. SCCA is offering certification. CIFA is offering certification. There are a lot of other global entities offering certification. But like I said, those of us from Nigeria, the major problem is even if it is $10, if you multiply it with the exchange rate, it becomes significant, not to talk of when it is in thousands of dollars. So that's where we have issue, and that's where some of us who have been endowed by his grace to have upskilled in this area should find a way to handhold others and build the necessary capacity. I used to tell my colleagues in the office, the sky is wide to accommodate all the flies, all the birds. So let us open up and hold a lot of, mentor them, teach them, so that the nation will be better off having properly upskilled professionals in this area. I think that's my response. I want to sincerely again thank the questionnaires because they made the presentation quite useful. It assures me that they were listening and they were agitated. To all other participants, thank you for the opportunity given to me to invest my 2 hours in you, and I pray that the returns will be high on your side. God bless.
Yes, before you go, let's quickly have our principal consultant give us the final vote of thanks. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much,
Over to
Doctor.
you first.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for this wonderful and insightful session. If you have to pay for this, like you have said, is in the thousands of dollars. And personally, thank you very much. I really do appreciate this. Even though with your busy schedule, you are able to accommodate we your boys and girls to bring us through this. We really do appreciate it. And talking about sustainability, like you have said, like you have rightly said, it's been something that has been ongoing discussion for a while now. Even personally myself, I took my first course on sustainability online on LinkedIn Learning just to have a very good fundamentals about it. Sometimes 2022 or thereabout, and for people asking for where they can learn. I mean, if you do not have the resources to acquire the global, certification or spaces right now, you can leverage online resources to even get yourself to know about the fundamentals of this subject matter further. So there is the LinkedIn Learning, there is the Coursera, there is the Udemy, and there are a number of other online platforms that you can, get yourself to even understand, and then before you start seeking further opportunities. Once again, thank you very much, Doctor. I mean, this personally, I've gained a lot because I am someone who is also very much invested, and like what we do at Wilabi Consulting, learning and learning and learning is the key of what we do, and that is why we are hoping that sometimes in the future, if we call you to come and grace us with your knowledge and time again, you are going to avail us those resources within your disposal. And we are very much also happy to provide support with any form of support you need from us in terms of your search for talent, that we can recommend people. We are also very much happy to partner, to be your boys and girls, to learn directly from you in order to also spread the knowledge that you have on your side to others. In fact, in a more workshop basis than this session that we've had. Thank you very much, sir. Really do appreciate. And to our audience, thank you very much for holding on to this time. I really hope that we have enjoyed the session. We have added to our knowledge bank, and this session has stimulated us to go further to check more on sustainability and the opportunities that we can key into for our future self. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless. Thank you, Doctor, once again, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Victory.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Dr. Anyahara. Thank you for honoring our invite. Thank you for making out time, even amongst your very busy and tight schedule. Even for you to be able to do this for us today, you're on transit. We really do appreciate, and we don't take this for granted. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm sure that the participants, you can see their comments. We are all grateful. Everybody is just showing appreciation, sir. We really want to thank you. Thank you once again for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
The recording
Have a nice day.
Slides are good.
Thank you, sir.
So the recording and the slides are going to be made available to the participants once they are available. Thank you very much, everybody. Do enjoy.